What was going on with you last July when we started working together?
My background, I had a 20-year career in the British Royal Navy, but a few years back, I'd left at the 16-year point, but with no plan. And what I thought was faith at the time in my abilities and a lot of military confidence and a bit of retraining at business school. But, I made a lot of mistakes trying to really, I guess, add some structure and vision and, I guess, process to the many, many thoughts that were in my head around what to do next in terms of decisions, family, next volume in one's life type thing. So, yeah, a real kind of cloud of confusion was going on when we re-engaged last July.
So, what was your trauma default, Nelson?
When we started discussing it, I thought, that's not me because I don't think I've ever had a trauma. So there was a bit of self-denial going on, and I actually realized that there was something that I'd hidden away. Mine ended up being like Christie's process as being a people pleaser, and I really didn't know what that meant until we then did the root cause work. So I'm a people pleaser, or I was.
So, what was the conversation or the scenario that led to you being a people pleasers? Because it was something that it was like this big, and that's what we look for, Nelson, because we could talk about the 15, 20 things that are going on in adulthood. Why don't you know how great you are? But we're looking for that one small, seemingly insignificant conversation that changes everything. Go ahead. What was it?
Yeah, it was micro, and I had to go right back to kind of my first days at school as an ethnic minority in Scotland. And I love Scotland. Those first few months at school, to the age of about, I think, 5, some of my earliest memories, were going to school and being made fun of just because of, my appearance. And I remember telling my mother that and being upset about it. And it was that conversation with my mother who then said, well, the way that we deal with that is embrace the current culture of our environment and fit into that. So we keep our heads down. We don't embarrass the people of our race and ethnicity. And so you bury it and you press on and you get thick skin. It wasn't until you really asked maybe 3 or 4 times, and I looked within and realized, well, actually, I was bullied in a way that made me behave in this people pleasing type way. And then that type of behavior showed up all the way through my career because it was all about how could I save face when it came to ensuring anything I did didn't embarrass either my family or the race of people that to look at me I come from. So that was, I think, the genesis of the root cause behind my trauma default.
We don't think that that stuff matters because you are successful and you did go to Harvard Business School and you're married with kids and you had a successful career in the Navy, but that stuff does matter, and that's what we do. And in the Bible, it says the truth shall set you free. So once you set free your truth, and then you started to own how great you were because you are, what started to happen in your life after that?
There is this way that one could maybe go through the motions and sort of do a bit of the work and say, right, this might happen if I fake it till I make it, and kind of those type of things, and just embrace the inner confidence in you, and sort of do it superficially is what I mean, which is easy to do. Doing the work made me realize I was actually truly showing up as the leader I was born to be. And there was a belief you gave me that went beyond superficiality, it went beyond false confidence, faking it. It played on my strengths. Actually, it's making me realize, well, Nelson, you've got everything within you. And I think you don't need to rest on the MBA, the distinction, the award there. And I think that's what I'd been doing before. I'd been chasing the next academic program. I was like, you know what? The reason why I haven't got there yet is because I haven't got that program under my belt. I don't quite know enough about that new area of shiny fish, or there's the next shiny fish. It might be AI, it might be quantum, it might be whatever it might be. And I was sort of chasing course after course, program after program, and chasing my tail. And I think once I spoke with you, Christy, I think one of the greatest things that you helped me find, amongst many of the other things, was this idea that you don't need another course, Nelson. Now, I will also say to your listeners, I'll be upfront and honest and say that, value for money at Harvard Business School is a lot of money, but the coaching is actually provided for free. And what they provide is these amazing frameworks that you're given and you get taken through the theories of it. And, you're very much a product of the process. It's different with your work, Christy, and it's not cheap, but the expense is well worth it because you go deep and you don't feel like you're a number. I felt like when I worked with you, it was truly tailored and it could go as long as I wanted to or as deep as I wanted to or not. Just, I think you made it bespoke, and that was, I think, a real difference and made me really kind of come out of the shell, and therefore I was able to act like the leader I truly was. The rank, the titles, all of that doesn't matter. What really matters is what people perceive you have to bring to them. And if it's good, if it's gratitude, if it's kindness, if it's positive, if it's getting to your truth, that's what I think I'm trying to get at, then amazing things start to happen, and things like, a very simple presentation to a CEO of this region ended up becoming an offer to then pitch to the global chairperson of one of the bluest of blue chip companies out there. And who knows what opportunities might come from that.
So how did your associations change, and then what opportunities started to open up with regards to a network for you?
There was an existing network, but your work got me to review it and to be cutthroat about it, to actually structure it around where the future vision for my ultimate contribution to, this planet would be, and how did that network honestly either support or not support that. So we didn't even have to go into quantitative numbers. There wasn't that kind of dollar value. It was more who's connected with the vision, and that vision had to be something that was going to move the needle for humanity. And very quickly, it became apparent that I was lacking in certain areas. But in the other areas, there was already enough to begin the work and for things to begin to happen. And that was the magic. There were seeds of beauty just waiting to be tapped into, or just waiting for that kind of water to be, I guess, waiting for the rain. For me, it was mind-blowing to think that we can set a vision and then the gremlins are going to come and start speaking to you. But the way that you counter that is by having this faith that doors will open, people will begin to show up that you never even heard of, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees of separation from your current position, and begin to offer things. And you do have to behave like that future version of you that is within you, because once you show up like that, people treat you like that. And that's exactly what's happened, Christy. The people at that level have begun going, well, you need to be in with us now, talking to the global chairperson. You need to be on our board. And here's an offer. Would you like to come and sit on the board and just observe for a little while? Would you like to come and present to us? We're having a board committee meeting. We'd like to hear your perspective on geopolitics. And so things were beginning to shift. And it was as if it was by magic. Some people would say it was fate. But I think this is what begins to happen once you begin to approach with this idea of beauty or excellence, your inner vision. People want to hang around people like that. People want to help people out because they kind of ultimately know it helps them. And who would have thought? Secretary of State type level people. And this is all from doing the work and not being fake, but being true to your vision and making sure that vision is of benefit to this world. Before working with you, Christy, sounded unreachable, a kind of moonshot type thing. But I think that is what the leaders of this world speak like. And that is that's a rare thing to find. And that's the kind of crowd that, that has begun to show up for me.
How did that change how you show up in your family dynamics with your kids and with your family?
My wife's noticed that I have showed up now and tried to listen, begun to make myself more present when she's got something to share. And because I've showed up, it's been reciprocated by her. Oh, she said to me, who is Christy really? I want to meet her, because it sounds like she's almost like a shrink. Or is she a shrink? Or is she a coach? What is this? I said, she's not a label, that's for sure. And I think that is another reason why I was keen to do the work with Vision Finder, because it's so unusual, the work that you do, the package that you offer, that I didn't see it really anywhere else out there. But you've got to be ready. And I don't know when we all are at certain points in our lives, but I remember talking it through with my wife, and I just knew that I was ready at this point in my life. And I think having those kind of conversations with my wife now, without them getting heated, without emotion coming in, the meditation that I've begun doing, that I've committed to doing, but my wife has absolutely noticed that I am being less emotionally reactive and triggered by our discussions. And I think that's as a result of this meditation. I can't prove it, but I think it must be something. It must be doing something. So yes, and I'm being kinder and more patient with the children, being a better father, like blocking out times for them.
Thank you for proving me right, because I like to be right. But no, you are now the manifestation of who you are. I don't know how to say it any better than that. And it is hard to label what we do. It's been 8 years now, but I still can't explain it. All I know is we get results.
What I took away from the work we did, Christy, is that you can achieve anything, no matter who you are, if you are clear on your vision, if you are steadfast in your faith, if you have your purpose defined, and most of all, if you approach your work with gratitude, a deeply resonating type gratitude. And so that is what I'm hoping to do with the rest of my life. And I thank you, Christy, because you've helped me find that.